Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our In the Inbox series. We are on question number 105 today, which is where we take questions that have been asked by folks like you about the real estate industry and get them answered for you. So we're in question number 105. This is from Tara. Her and her husband were just here in the country looking at property. They're preparing to make an offer, and she wanted to know if she needed to open a Belize dollar account for the transaction to be facilitated. And the quick answer to that is no. You do not need to open a Belize dollar account. In fact, it's fairly tedious to open a Belize dollar account if you're not a resident here or if you don't have some business dealings here in the country. But the quick answer to that is no, you do not need to open a Belize dollar account. Now, you will be working, you really should, hopefully, you're working with a closing company, that third party company that will also be acting as the escrow company. The third party closing company is the one who will be doing the closing for you. And 9 times out of 10, that closing company will have a US dollar escrow account in the United States where you can send your US dollars to. So you don't have to try to worry about converting US dollars to Belize dollars. That is not necessarily something you'll need to do. However, if you're Canadian, you'll typically have to convert Canadian dollars to US dollars to go to the escrow account of that closing company. Now, there are a couple of questions, though, that I would recommend you and your agent get clarified as you're putting the offer in. Oh, but let me just highlight this. So again, the transactions will usually be in US dollars when you're dealing with foreigners. However, let's go through these questions here that you and your agent should make sure are getting answered before. Is the seller going to be expecting Belize dollars or US dollars? Is the buyer going to be sending US or Belize? In addition to that, can the escrow company facilitate what both parties want? And then we'll answer number 4 here in a second. But these 3 questions here are going to be critical to ensure that you're going to be working with the right closing company. Again, you could have that conversation with your agent, let them know that you have US dollars, you want to be using US dollars, and they'll be introducing you to a closing company that can facilitate what both the buyer and the seller are expecting. Now, this is pretty important. Most companies, most escrow companies here have a US dollar and a Belize dollar account. So somebody can pay in US dollar, and then let's say the seller is a Belizean, then they can get Belizean dollars, but just make sure that this is clearly communicated. Some escrow companies do not have a US dollar account, but typically foreigners are not working with them because then you'll need Belize dollars. Now, I do want to jump to question number 4 here, and this is really important, is to understand if the seller is Belizean or American or Canadian if you are financing. So if you are financing, then you're going to be taking advantage of the seller financing, and you're going to be paying the seller on a monthly basis according to the terms of your agreement. This is important because if you're American and the seller is Canadian and they do not have a US dollar account, then you're going to be sending your US dollars to a Canadian dollar account, and you'll typically have some sort of wire fees or conversion fees. So you will have to bear this in mind as you're sending payments. Now, if both parties are US citizens, you'll probably have Cash App or Zelle or something along those lines where you can send those monthly payments without having those additional wire fees. But this is something that we ran into here. One of our sellers who has property at Secret Beach, he's a Belizean. He is willing to accept seller financing. However, a majority of the people who are looking at his lot are North American. So we need to go through the process of ensuring that he can get his monthly payments. He does not have access to a US dollar account. So either the buyer needs to go and open a Belize dollar account, which you really do need to be here in person to do that, or you'll need to send the money from US or Canadian dollar to his bank account in Belize, but there are going to be conversion fees. And in addition to that, all US money coming into the country through wires to be deposited in Belize dollars, so to be converted, does get have to get approved by central bank for every single transaction. So unfortunately, that seller is really not going to be able to take US dollar or US dollars or US or North Americans because of the fact that he can't easily get paid. So again, these are questions, though, that your agent should be getting sorted for you, and you just confirming with them if you're planning to pay in US dollar, and then they'll make sure that you're working with a US dollar escrow company. Again, 99% of the companies here do have that US dollar escrow company, especially if they're dealing with foreigners, or bank account, especially if they're dealing with foreigners. So it shouldn't be an issue, but you just need to always double check. So answering your question there, Tara, you do not need to have a Belize dollar account. Sending US is just fine. So if you're looking at real estate here, and you want to learn more about what it looks like to own property, whether from the closing process, residency perspective, whatever that may be, do ensure that you're reaching out to us. We have tons of complimentary guides. If you're planning to be down here soon and looking at property, let us know. We have a great team of agents who can act as your buyer's agent for you and make sure you're seeing all the properties that are pertaining to your interest. My name is Rachel Jensen, broker owner of Luna Realty Belize, and we hope we see you down here in Paradise soon. Bye, everyone.